Hello and welcome to a Smurd P video. And today we're looking at VR Troopers video. And today we're looking at VR Troopers issue 3. And this is written by Mairghread Scott. Apologies because that is pretty not a strange name. It's difficult for me to say sometimes. Sebastian Piriz goes by JP Jordan and Taylor Esposito on the letters. So let's get into this issue. So it begins with Ryan trying to remember a day long ago when his dad didn't show up to pick him for school. And even though you think you're big and strong, actually you still want your dad to pick you up on time. So if it doesn't happen like that, well, it gets worrying. So apparently there was no body with the lab accident. So Ryan never actually saw his dad's body. So the possibility of his dad actually being out there is quite true. He was taken in by Professor Hart's family. I think this is, I can't remember if this was the first reference to Professor Hart. I could be wrong. We've had a couple of issues now. So, and then we learn that he is quite chuffed when he is picked to be a VR trooper. But maybe there was a hidden motivation there. But he felt like he hit the jackpot. So, he is not somebody smart enough to understand his notes. It's not his bag. However, it is JB. So JB is going to help them. Kaitlin then uses a good old-fashioned pager, I believe, to get a message out to the VR troopers. And then she decides to, well, I'm going to goat Victor into, or Grimlord into, I don't know, some sort of confession. So she starts winding him up about the Eltarians and you're not going to be able to conquer this. They're too powerful. But then he starts talking about it. Well, it's quite easy. People are sheep. And not saying people are sheep today, but we do live in a society where we are starting to use AI more. We use social media constantly. So in some ways, you could say that stuff is actually relevant to the real world, virtual reality, because that's what it is. It's not a real world. Although you may be sharing real stories, but a lot of people do it for, you know, likes and whatever. I mean, I have a YouTube channel, you know. There we go. So Grimlord has implemented within his VR device a way to get through to the back part of the brain where he can essentially create his own army out of them. So absolute brilliant. And then at some point when he has enough in the bag, he is going to go on to the attack and take out the Eltarian Masters. Also, he's made a play into the virtual reality where he can actually bring objects through, like in the show. They just come through, ships and whatever, they just go on attack. So, and then she says, well, the VR troops could do that, the Eltarians can do that. Now, this is the caveat when he says, why do you only think there are 3 of you instead of hundreds? Virtual reality is disguise, and I am the master of it. But maybe I'm not the only one. So there we go. You're understanding a bit what that actually means. Or you may have already figured it out, but I'm not going to release that yet. So they start, so JB's making his way through it. And we first start getting Professor Hart and Ryan's dad, Mr. Steele, working together, trying to create these 2 objects, which are actually in the lab. And they do, so basically they wanted to create something that the Eltarians couldn't possibly do. So this was what they were trying to do. And they did work with, I think, many others, because there are lots of different notes in lots of different languages. So they worked with many scientists in secret across the thing. The only problem is there are lots of files with one code. And if you get that code wrong, it's all erased. So Ryan says Amy, which was his mother's name, and bam, that's it. And then we realize perhaps his dad and Professor Hart created the VR troopers, not the Eltarians. And perhaps they needed Ryan because Ryan's, I don't know, I'm maybe clutching at straws,
DNA was what unlocked the first connection, and then JB and Kaitlin and could be VR troopers as well. Look, that's a stretch, I think. But it also goes back to Victor's point that why are there only 3 of you? Because the Alterans didn't create them. They don't know how to create them. They don't have access to these files. So, we believe Daddy's home. And, well, each trooper transformed very quickly. Ryan is straight in the mix. And then it's a case of, we're not messing around. Destroy the data. We can't let it go. We understand it a little bit now, but we can't let it go. So, much to the annoyance of Mr. Steel, however, they managed to take him out with an electric bolt. Now, here's the bit where she says, I've given it away already. You forget that you're human, Ryan, just like your father did. Or maybe the father's in there. I've given it away anyway. So they managed to... so once they take out the armor, it's quite a shell, but there is a release button at the end, so they release it. And, well, it's not Daddy home, it's Mummy's home. Because here is Amy free. And it sort of makes sense why Ryan's dad would be so hell-bent on getting the virtual reality up if Amy was the one. Perhaps years ago she didn't disappear. She like believed, and I'm sorry because I should have said that as a story that the mum left, and maybe let's be like, oh, okay, actually that makes sense. But she didn't leave. She went through it, and Ryan's dad didn't share that with him because he was too young. Maybe when he was older he would have shared it, but he was hoping to get through to virtual reality, get Amy back, and that's why the files are called Amy. There's no resentment because she didn't leave him. She was transported to a whole new world. Not the real world. So, yeah, a fantastic issue. I really enjoyed this issue. It was a lot of fun. I liked the development, and we're finally moving towards something. And I can't remember whether this is 6 issues or 5 issues, but if it's 5, we got 2 issues. That's not very much time to finish off the VR Trooper story. So, hope you like my video. If you do, please do support my channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Thank you to everybody that's subscribed already. Make sure you look after yourself. And as always, embrace the geekiness. Trooper transform.